Focal Point. They did it once before, now they have to do it again. How small businesses are hanging on. And college freshmen are missing the dorm experience. We'll show you how one freshman figured it all out.
Coming up, I'll tell you how a group on campus is using this parking ramp for more than just parking.
Focal Point starts right now.
Hello and welcome to Focal Point. Today, we bring you the show from the Michigan State University campus. I'm Connie Rabani.
And I'm Lacey Hudson, just outside of campus in downtown East Lansing. It's been over 8 months since the COVID-19 virus reached Michigan and the first lockdowns were put in place. Non-essential businesses closed, schools went virtual, and we kept 6 feet from friends. 8 months later, we're back where we started.
There is a lot to unpack with these new restrictions, and we begin on campus. Michigan State planned on bringing more students to campus this spring, but with the new shutdown, that may not be possible. Focal Point's Jacob Lothamer talked with a freshman student who was hoping for a chance to live in the dorms for the spring semester, but now has no idea what he will do.
It's been tough for MSU students to live with all the changes due to COVID-19.
And so every weekend I'm just kind of wanting to be on campus and wanting to participate.
Freshman Jack Montroy is tired of being at home.
I think one of the biggest bummers about being in my hometown right now is that I'm not making a college group of friends I can hang out with.
He planned to live in the dorms this year, but Jack has spent this semester living at home.
I think as a whole, I don't really feel like I'm at college right now because of it.
Actively involved with the state in that discussion.
MSU spokesperson Emily Guerrant says they hope to allow another 2,500 students in the residence halls for the spring semester, but they may have to rethink that.
Yes, to your point about bringing more students back, will we have that ability? And that's something we have to evaluate right now.
Jack wants to live on campus this spring and hopes he gets accepted.
And so I applied, and if I get accepted, I would definitely take it right away.
Even if Jack is selected, he knows the on-campus experience may be a little different.
I think I'd have to come expecting some, not what I was expecting before COVID happened, and understand that, it's not going to be the traditional way of life.
You're going out where are things riskiest.
Ingham County public health official Linda Vale says the new restrictions in restaurants and bars stem from what is being seen in college towns across the state.
More late night bar and restaurant activity than, your typical, dinner where people are kind of, sitting quietly at their tables and eating.
And if the new restrictions don't flatten the curve in Michigan, Jack's chances of living on campus this spring will be slim, and that's frustrating for him.
I also feel like the dorms are a good place to meet new people and make new friends. And if I just go into an apartment my sophomore year without ever living in a dorm, I'm just going to know the same people from my hometown and not have to expand my group.
In East Lansing, I'm Jacob Lothamer, Focal Point News.
Fewer students on campus means less money being spent on Grand River. Now, Lacey, you visited some businesses to see how they're doing?
I visited No Tie to see how the pandemic has been affecting business. Dining rooms may be closed, but the kitchen is open. Like here at No Tie in East Lansing.
Well, it's slow, so I don't know, it's kind of up and down.
The coronavirus has forced many local restaurants in the heart of East Lansing to close down, and signs like these cover the city's storefronts. The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services has updated the requirements for indoor gatherings as a result of an increase in COVID-19 cases. Bars and restaurants are mostly affected, and they're asking that customers use dine-out options only.
We're still doing good, still surviving. It impacts us a lot for our revenues, but pretty much we're just hanging on.
No Tie is not the only business that's hanging on.
The business is awful right now. There's less people coming, and then we lost customers just because of COVID. As staff member, we will also worry about it because even there's a glass, we will still worry about if we're gonna affect it or not.
Masking up and carrying out are just a few things we can do.
I think it's gonna be a financial hit no matter what you do. There's not much you can do, but we still have to prioritize human life over that.
The 3-week pause restrictions went into effect 3 days after Governor Gretchen Whitmer announced the state's new guidelines. Even through October, Michigan restaurants and bars were staying open by serving customers outside. But what happens now that temperatures are dropping and snow is starting to fall? Northville restaurants are being supplied with heating pods and outdoor vending stands to maintain business throughout the winter. Manfred Schoen, CEO of a data company called Up2Go, partnered with the Northville Downtown Development Authority to set a plan in motion called Heat in the Street. To prevent fire hazards or the spread of the coronavirus, the pods are constructed without walls, just a ceiling with lights and propane heating. 4 pods and 2 stands will be distributed on November 30th. Each pod can fit 2 tables for up to 4 to 6 people. Jerry Johnson, Marketing and Communications Director of the Northville DDA, says that Schoen's idea was inspired by his German roots.
The guy who was spearheading this, Manfred Schoen, is from Germany, and he came to us and basically said, you guys don't know how to do winter here. You need to embrace it and not try and go in, but actually enjoy the outdoors during winter and make people as comfortable as possible.
There's a good chance these pods stick around even after the pandemic is brought under control. Johnson says the Northville DDA plans on using them for different events throughout the year, including a summertime event such as art shows.
If you plan on visiting any Lansing businesses, finding a place to park downtown just got easier.
No, this isn't Monopoly. Free parking spaces are all over Lansing. Leave your change in your piggy bank because there's not a metered spot for sale in the entire greater Lansing area for the rest of the year. On-street metered parking is free of charge as of Monday, November 23rd, and will continue until January 1st, 2021. This does not include parking spots without meters, such as parking ramps. But even though metered parking is free, on-street parking maximums are still being enforced.
We have maximum time limits to park in certain spots. So if you look around when you go park downtown, it's a 2-hour limit. So we'll still be ticketing if you're there for 5 hours. You can't be there all day. You can't be there over 2 hours. And it's different depending where you are in the city, but there's signage noting what that maximum limit is. So we just ask that residents and visitors take a look at that when they're parking, because we will still be monitoring for maximum limits.
The goal from the city is to help the Lansing businesses with the challenges brought on by COVID. The free metered parking makes them more accessible for curbside pickup orders and hopefully encourages people to shop local. Here on MSU's campus, there are plenty of places to park, but as Michaela Temple tells us, you might find more than cars, trucks, and mopeds in the parking ramps. Michaela?
Standing outside the parking ramp, you're likely to hear it before you see it. No, I'm not talking about a car starting. This sound is a little more in tune. It's a sound not normally heard here. Singing in a parking ramp. 15 of them. And the University Chorale has found Level 3 to be the best.
We're just grateful to be able to have some place we can go.
Colleen Chester stands third on the left and thinks it's perfect.
It's actually been really lovely. I mean, the acoustics are great in here.
Jack Rifkin,
after 5 months of not being able to make music with other people,
is just happy to be back conducting.
it just feels good to be able to do what we love to do again.
But something was missing.
I think the one thing that was missing from this whole experience was having an audience.
Little did they know,
We were honestly really overwhelmed by the response.
Rod Sanford
I was riding my bicycle through campus.
would give them what they missed.
Did a really quick video of them rehearsing a beautiful song.
He posted it to social media.
Most of my family's in California, and they were able to hear us.
A lot of people heard.
A friend of mine said, "Did you see how many people are viewing your video?"
It has 20,000 views.
And the audience keeps climbing.
We were really proud.
It's nice to hear something positive and beautiful these days, I think.
The world has been challenging.
There's been so much loss and devastation.
But then you come across a place.
A little light amidst the darkness.
Where you hear voices you never thought you would. In a concrete structure.
It's kind of a testament to the human spirit a little bit to keep soldiering on and to find beauty.
Giving a little hope.
I look forward to it every day.
That anything is possible. The Corral has since moved their practices to an indoor, socially distanced location now that the cooler weather has moved in.
Thank you, Michaela. Even though you can't see it, that put a smile on my face for sure. Follow the link below to watch the video that Rod Sanford first recorded. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, Connor Smithee has a look at this week's weather.
Hey, thanks, Connie. The S word is back in our forecast. We'll have a look coming up on Focal Point.
When do we give up? When do we just close our eyes and say, that's it? This water's too polluted. This disease too far along. To a Spartan, the answer's simple. Never. Because Michigan State was founded on the belief that our purpose is to make the world a better place. And when you're open to unconventional thinking, value people's differences, and are willing to forge true partnerships, then and only then can you solve the world's toughest problems. Like renewable energy, clean water, and Parkinson's disease. Because we know our true triumph lies in the impact we make on the world around us. And after all, if we don't do it, who will? Spartans will.
Welcome back to Focal Point. I'm Connor Smithee here with a look at your weather. Right now, I do want to take a quick look at our national map just to show you that fall temperatures are in play across much of the country. 61 in New York, 48 Rapid City, 51 in Portland, going across the country. It is a little bit warmer in the south, 82 Miami, Orlando, 79. Let's take a look closer to home at the Midwest. The further west you go, the colder it's going to be. 38 Duluth, 42 Minneapolis, 47 Green Bay. We're sticking around the 60-degree mark here in Michigan. Looking at our current conditions right now, we can see East Lansing, 52 degrees. It's 47 in Grand Rapids and Mount Pleasant. Detroit is at 57 right now. But if you like these temperatures, we're not going to be seeing much of those anymore. Take a look. 59, this is our last day in the 50s for at least a week. And then we're going to be around 40 for the rest of the week, warming up towards the end of the week. And yes, that is the S word on both Tuesday and Sunday. We do have a chance of some snow as well as rain on Wednesday and Thursday. So it's going to be a really messy week. We want to be driving slow if you're traveling anywhere for Thanksgiving. Would hate to get in a car crash on Turkey Day. That's all I've got for your weather update. Have a safe, wonderful Thanksgiving. Back to you.
Thank you, Connor. Fewer students are living in the dorms this year, but where do we stand with apartments? Taylor Gattoni has been looking into that very question. Taylor, what does the housing situation look like in East Lansing?
This year's housing situation for students is definitely a little different than it was in years prior, especially affecting those like freshmen.
It's a big change from high school to college and dorm life. And then the pandemic hit. Only 2,000 students were allowed to live on campus instead of the regular 14,500.
While Michigan State recommends students stay home, most freshmen have not gotten the dorm experience or college experience in general. But there is one freshman who found a way to live close to campus and still feel like they're at home.
Like freshman year, you usually meet people in the dorms.
Nana Chabria knew she couldn't live in a dorm, and she knew she may get homesick. So she found a way to feel at home. Her sister Ashka Chabria had an idea.
My sister was upset about the dorms closing.
So after Ashka's roommate decided to live at home,
just take the other room, sublease it from the other girl.
Nana moved in to her new home, away from home.
In a sorority, I've met more people, had more opportunities.
Ashka already knows she'll be moving out of state next year after graduation. And her freshman sister did want to get the dorm experience, but after living in an apartment,
I think I'll probably stay off campus. I don't really think I would want to go into the dorms after having a full apartment.
and it's working out. Living with her sister, Nana has had help branching out and
It helps me get used to my classes.
It just kind of feels like we're at home.
Michigan State is planning for students to come back into the dorms this spring semester. In East Lansing, I'm Taylor Gattoni.
Thank you, Taylor. MSU's plan is to open another 2,500 dorms. The hope is more MSU students on campus and more in-person classes this spring.
From feeding the body to feeding the soul. For over 10,000 years, humans have been gathering and worshiping in person. But how are congregations adapting to new COVID restrictions? Connor Smithee met with East Lansing's religious leaders to find out.
When coronavirus restrictions shut down large gatherings, Rabbi Amy Bigman had to adapt.
We really kept it quite simple.
Her synagogue offered online services before COVID.
The focus was on the people in the congregation, right?
But now she focuses on the congregation at home.
And I engage with the people that are on the other end in a way that I would if they were in our worship space.
Shara Tzedek isn't alone. Young Yi is the MSU venue director of Riverview Church.
In March, we were still trying to get a pulse on things.
The church normally meets on Sunday mornings in the Michigan State Union, but has been online since March. They encourage those that feel safe to meet in small groups for a sense of community.
And that could just be you and your roommate, or you and your family members, or gathering some friends.
While Riverview and Shara Tzedek are still physically closed, the Islamic Society of Greater Lansing has reopened with outdoor services and precautions.
We took temperature, we made sure people were registered so we could do contact tracing just in case something happened.
As the weather gets colder, the services are moving indoors. Shafa Ikram is excited to be back in person.
But we're also trying to build that sense of community and faith back together at the mosque.
All three agree a sense of community is important when many are stuck at home.
Yeah, the community aspect is definitely lacking.
Like everyone, everyone's struggling in some way, shape, or form.
In East Lansing, I'm Connor Smithee, Focal Point News.
Many religious organizations are still operating remotely as we head into the holiday season.
We're going to take another break, but when we come back, Joe Freihofer is just across the way at Spartan Stadium, and he's going to be here with a look at this week in sports.
That's right, guys. I'm coming at you this week from Spartan Stadium, where right here behind me, Michigan State football fell yet again, this time to the Indiana Hoosiers. So we'll take a cinematic look back at that one. And we'll also talk to a local high school football head coach about what he makes about the high school football season being put on pause. All that and more coming up next on Focal Point.
Ever wonder where courage comes from? Where one finds the strength to believe in solutions that seem impossible? It takes a Spartan's will to understand that by working together we can solve the world's biggest problems, from renewable energy to fighting malaria. After all, if we don't do it, who will? Spartans will.
Welcome back to Focal Point. I'm Joe Freihofer here with your sports update. MSU hockey is back in action. They played the Arizona State Sun Devils last night in a 1-1 tie. They've got game 2 of a 2-part homestand over at Mount Ice Arena tonight before they then pack up and head down to Columbus, Ohio to take on the Buckeyes next week. MSU football's Saturday game has been canceled versus Maryland. The Terrapins came out Thursday morning and made a statement saying that they are opting out of this game and decided to cancel it, quote, under the guidance and advice of university medical staff. There is no plan to reschedule this one. After a 49-7 loss in Iowa City, Michigan State football was back here at home on Saturday and took on the Indiana Hoosiers. Yet another loss for them. Let's take a cinematic look back at this one with WDBM's Eric Bach and Nathan Stearns on the call.
And this roller coaster of a Michigan State football season continues today with the 62nd battle for the old brass platoon on a gorgeous, chilly day for Spartan football in East Lansing.
This is by far and away the best team that Michigan State's played this year. The Spartans are going to have to show something that we haven't seen yet this year if they're going to have any shot of beating an Indiana team.
Michigan State honoring the late coach George Perlis today with the Block S helmets. And the 68th battle for the old brass spittoon is underway from East Lansing. Penix has it. They bring a blitz. Penix throws deep off his back foot down the sideline, and it's intercepted by Shakur Brown. He got inside of Watt Fillier, and Brown carries it all the way back to the Spartan 35. Turnover is such a huge key in this game. The Spartan defense gets the first one of this game. Lombardi asked for it. Now has it. Indiana brings a blitz from the left side. It's not picked up. Lombardi fires one deep down the field. It's picked off. It's intercepted that time by Taiwan Mullen. Trips to the far side. Penix will throw quickly to the far side to Freifogel outside the numbers, gets a block, and is down inside the 10. Breaks a tackle and fights for the pylon and has a touchdown.
One stat line I want our viewers to know. 7 points in 8 quarters in 2 games. That just can't happen.
So Michigan State shut out at home.
So with no game this weekend, Tucker and the Spartans will now shift their focus to November 28th when they take on the Northwestern Wildcats. Due to new COVID-19 restrictions, Governor Gretchen Whitmer announced the suspension of all high school sports. Mid-Michigan schools were 2 weeks into high school football playoffs when the call was made to suspend all active high school sports. Despite the crushing news, East Lansing High School head football coach Bill Ferracco had a refreshing point of view for him and his team.
It's not tragic. Tragic is the 250,000 people who have died because of this. And we talk about this with the kids.
These new COVID restrictions are scheduled to last through December 9th. Now, Spartan basketball isn't quite underway yet, but for 2 former Spartans, their pro careers just began after the NBA draft on Wednesday night. Junior forward Xavier Tillman and senior point guard Cassius Winston were selected the other night. Tillman was traded to Memphis after Sacramento picked the big man 35th overall, and he'll be reunited with former teammate Jaren Jackson Jr. Winston is headed to Washington after being selected 53rd overall by the Thunder before being traded to the Wizards. Both players put a handful of banners in the Breslin, so it'll be interesting to see what they do in the pros. Now with Winston and Tillman, that now makes 22 of Izzo's former players having been drafted into the NBA. That's all I have for you on this week's Sports Update. Outside of Spartan Stadium, I'm Joe Freihofer.
Thank you, Joe. No Spartan football this weekend, but if you need something to watch, Kayla Harris has been staying up to date on everything, TV, music, and gaming. She's reporting from her couch. Kayla, what's happening in entertainment this week?
Temperatures outside are dropping, COVID cases are rising. Sounds like staying in could be just what the doctor ordered. And what better way to pass the time than at the hands of a video game? Sony released the PlayStation 5 last week, but if you didn't pre-order a console in September, the odds of snagging one are slim. PlayStation 5s are sold out, but stores like Walmart and GameStop are having Black Friday deals and they could be available. If moving your fingers seems too strenuous, then you can flick on the TV and chill with cable and streaming. Coming to your TV soon is The Christmas Chronicles 2. In the first film, a brother and a sister help Santa Claus save Christmas.
Imagine if we all work together. This just might work.
In the sequel, the sister Kate Pierce is now a teenager, but somehow she finds herself coming to the holidays' rescue yet again.
Christmas is doomed.
We can't let that happen. Christmas must endure.
And if you were among many who were sad about missing the Charlie Brown holiday specials this year, turn that frown upside down. A Charlie Brown Thanksgiving and a Charlie Brown Christmas will air on PBS November 22nd. So although it's goodbye to theaters and bowling alleys for now, you can still keep yourself entertained in the comfort and safety of your own living room.
Of course, the COVID-19 crisis continues to be a big story here in Michigan and around the world. But it is not the only story. On the other side of the globe, the fight for justice goes on, even during a pandemic. Sade Moore brings us that story in this week's Focal Point Friday finale.
I'll just say I was nervous because I was starting to live on my own in a whole new country.
Leaving home for college can be hard. Even more difficult if your home is halfway around the world. Tim Nwanzi expected being homesick. He didn't expect that he'd have to worry about his family back in Nigeria.
Well, in Nigeria, police brutality and harassment is it's a very common event. It happens on a day-to-day basis.
Nwanzi is an MSU computer engineering major who grew up in Nigeria.
I did my elementary school there, my high school there, I just came here for college.
Nigeria is experiencing a civil rights movement similar to protests here in this country.
The youth responding to criminal maladministration of this government.
The movement there is called End SARS. SARS is a special police force that stands for Special Anti-Robbery Squad, created in the 90s that was eventually corrupted as they rose to power. This is also a personal story. My mother lives in Nigeria, and she's scared.
I really was traumatized. I really felt helpless. I felt sad. I felt really kind of, why would this be happening? They were peaceful protesters.
My mother sees the similarities between America's civil rights movement and the one happening in Nigeria now.
There are definitely some similarities between NSARS and Black Lives Matters.
In Grand Rapids, Michigan, protesters marched for Breonna Taylor and others victims to police brutality. In Nigeria, they marched for Jimoh Isiaq and many others. So then we ask ourselves, how can we help all the way in the United States?
Donating to funds for sure, reposting on social media. Social media is like honestly one of the biggest things or the biggest tools that we have.
It's almost something that every Nigerian can give you an experience about. Like, I've obviously had my fair share of experience.
It's hard for Tim to watch the unrest in Nigeria and intends on getting involved with the movement when he can travel back home and see his friends and family too.
All of them are still back home in Nigeria, so I really want to see them.
Sade Moore, Focal Point News.
Thanks, Sade. For more information about the End SARS movement, go to endsars.carrd.co. That's it for our show this week. I'm Connie Rabani.
And I'm Lacey Hudson. I know all of us at Focal Point are thankful for you all tuning in. Until next time, have a safe Thanksgiving.